Hey everyone, my presentation is Building a Support System, the Importance of Mentoring to Developmental Student Success. So first of all, many of our developmental students are also first-generation college students. And first-gen college students, as you guys know, are students whose parents have never attended college or enrolled in post-secondary education. While half of people from high-income families have a bachelor's degree, by 25, only 1 in 10 from low-income families do. And these students often also lack a lot of the preparedness academically that their peers have. You can tell from this infographic that the first-gen students really lag behind their peers in several areas. So when these students enter the developmental or the higher education classroom, they are entering a strange and stressful new world. Many of them don't have the same personality traits or skills that their classmates have developed just for a variety of reasons, and this can affect their performance and success. However, studies show that skills and behaviors necessary for their success can be learned and developed to counter the negative academic and social experiences they've had in the past. And students who have dealt with adaptability issues throughout their academic experience are likely to have had little experience with positive academic and social feedback, which then affects their self-esteem and student confidence. And lastly, many first-generation college students and developmental students lack a solid support network at home and may not realize that they can create that support network for themselves. And I think this is why mentoring for these students is such an important element of helping them succeed in college. So there are a lot of problems that first-gen students face at school, and I know from my own experience and from students that I have spoken with, one of the major issues is that their parents support the idea of them attending college, but they don't really understand the practicalities of being a student. They don't understand how much time it takes to balance class attendance with studying, with working, with also taking care of family responsibilities. And then these students often don't speak the language. So concepts and terms that others take for granted are unfamiliar for them. This includes concepts like time management, how to approach scholarship opportunities, or even knowing that those opportunities are out there, knowing how to study. Words like bursar, advisor, CRN, many more are like speaking Greek to these students. So this study's purpose was to look at and explore the extent that mentoring relationships are associated with developmental education student success. So the research questions were, to what extent does intentional instructor mentoring impact developmental education student success in the developmental course? And to what extent does intentional instructor mentoring impact developmental education student success in gateway composition courses? So there is quite a bit of literature out there, although some of it is geared in a slightly different direction than what I was looking at. But there are options that can lower stress outside of the classroom, which then facilitates self-efficacy and supports student success. Many students do not realize what social capital they have, nor do they know how to use it to their benefit. So these students often lack a mentor, and this seems to directly affect student self-efficacy and motivation. However, once a student has established a relationship with a mentor, once they have someone in their life who knows that they can be successful and help steer them in that direction, then students can gain agency and their self-confidence will grow. Previous approaches to student success in developmental classrooms focused on student motivation versus self-efficacy. And rather than assuming that dev ed students have the same skills as others, I think it's imperative that these students are taught to create support systems for themselves and to identify possible mentors, to communicate with those mentors, and to act upon the advice given by those mentors. There's ample research in the field of psychology examining a role of proactivity on student success, but there is a lack of research on this in higher education. This study follows a descriptive, non-experimental design because there are many important but non-manipulative independent variables that need further study in the field of education, as Johnson says. An exploration of research questions will be through descriptive, non-experimental research to ascertain the extent to which intentional classroom mentoring contributes to developmental education, student success in developmental composition courses and subsequent gateway composition courses. Grades and enrollment in gateway courses of 60 students from 2 classes, one class using intentional in-class mentoring activities and one without, at a community college in Appalachian, Alabama, will be tracked between fall of 2016 and spring 2017 and compared to fall 2017 and spring 2018. So tracking grades in DevEd courses between these classes correspond to research question 1, and tracking enrollment in gateway courses corresponds to research question 2. So I had an independent t-test, and this compared the means of the 2 populations to determine if there was a statistically significant difference between the student success and enrollment rates as a result of intentional in-class mentoring. Mentored students in this study did not score statistically significantly higher than non-mentored students. However, Cohen's d at less than or at negative 0.30 indicates a practical significance that does lean positively toward the success and retention of mentored students. However, because the sample size was so small for this study, although it did reach confidence levels, I think a study of a larger number of students over a longer period of time is needed to measure any connection between mentoring and success or retention for developmental education students. And also, this was purely quantitative. So a qualitative element that asked students to participate in a brief survey would provide pertinent information as to the practical significance students felt was present in the classes where mentoring activities were used, and whether or not they felt that they were able to take those skills that they used and learned from their mentor and approach life activities and other classes with them.